All right, let's talk about something that's probably happening in your organization right now. Someone has just walked into a leadership meeting with a brilliant idea, and it sounds good. The person presenting it is charismatic, and you're about to say yes. And not because it's the most strategic use of your team's time, and not because it's been properly evaluated, but because it sounds reasonable in the moment. And that decision is about to destroy your execution velocity. So let's dig into this. Let's move over here and find the thing we want to talk about today. Too much work gets started without proper vetting. That's what we're going to talk about. Now, most organizations do not have a shortage of ideas. What they have a shortage of is discipline around which those ideas become work. And that lack of discipline is killing them. Now, here's what typically happens. Someone pitches an initiative. Leadership asks a few clarifying questions, and if no one can think of an obvious reason to say no, well, the work begins. The resources get allocated and teams start scrambling. What's missing here? What's missing is a systematic way to evaluate whether this thing is actually worth doing. Instead, you get executive bypass projects, where a senior leader mentions something and suddenly there's a team building it. No strategy check, no resource conversation, just raw organizational momentum behind an untested concept. You get local optimization madness, where department heads greenlight projects that make sense for their silo but create disarray everywhere else. And you get zombie backlog items, work that gets added because, well, we talked about it before, even though no one remembers why it mattered. And the result is that you get initiative sprawl. Your roadmap becomes a wish list and your teams become firefighters. Your overall execution becomes a joke. So let's look at the solution. Because the answer is not to slow down innovation. It's to create a proper front door for it. And here's how to do it. Step 1, implement a standard entry process. Every new initiative, without exception, must pass through a predefined submission process. Create a simple intake template that captures the basics. What problem are we solving? Which strategic priority does this support? What does success look like? And who owns it? This is not bureaucracy. This is clarity. Now, step 2, clarify the approval gates. Before anything gets approved, it should pass 3 basic tests. Gate 1, is this aligned with our current strategy? And I don't mean tangentially aligned. I mean directly supportive. Gate 2, do we understand the goals, the timing, and the resources required? If you can't answer these clearly, you're not ready. And gate 3, is there real readiness to start? Do we have the people, the tools, the organizational alignment to execute this properly? Step 3, train your stakeholders. Educate leaders, sponsors, team leads on what constitutes a green lightable initiative. And show them examples of projects that started well versus projects that crashed and burned because they skipped the basics. Make the criteria visible and make sure that the process is understood. Step 4, enforce the no work without approval rule. And this is where most organizations fail. They create the process and then immediately start making exceptions. Well, this one's urgent, this one's from the CEO, this one's just a quick experiment. No, the process works when it's universal. Nothing starts until it clears the gates, period. And empower your teams to push back on stealth projects. If work hasn't been through the process, it doesn't start. And step 5, track exceptions transparently. When something does bypass the system, and it will happen, log it, review it, use it as a learning opportunity to reinforce why structure matters. And this is not about punishment, it is about consciousness. When you install a green light process, it's not just operational, it's cultural. It sends a signal that capacity is finite and must be protected, and that strategy isn't just backdrop, it's the basis for all commitments. Most importantly, it makes saying no easier. Without a visible process, declining work becomes political or personal. But with one, it becomes procedural and principled. Look, discipline creates freedom. When you know that everything in your pipeline has been properly vetted, you can execute with confidence instead of constantly second-guessing whether you're working on the right things. The best organizations don't just prioritize well, they decide well. and they do it before the cost of misalignment compounds. Your green light process is not bureaucracy, it's a filter. And that filter might be the difference between strategic execution and expensive disarray. Stop letting good ideas become bad execution. Start filtering properly. Your team's sanity and your strategic results depend on it. Now, to get the complete system for filtering ideas, protecting team capacity, and turning disciplined intake into consistent delivery, grab our free Survive and Thrive guide. The link is in the description.